Semen retention is a huge liberating practice. I want to get into how you can further your retention goals and how you can, you know, get out of this cycle of lust really in a minute, but I just want to explain this really quick. If you feel like as a man you are not doing as well as you could be, if you feel like the ways of life are dragging you down constantly and you're not getting your due, you're not experiencing good relationships, you're not experiencing a heightened sense of love within yourself, then that means you need to be on retention. It means there's something in your story that's causing you destruction. It could be multiple things, but retention is the thing that gives us hope because it allows us to see God's hands in everything that we do. It literally makes us powerful human beings because we have a sense to our lives, like a genuine, deep sense of why we're here, what we're doing, where we're going, why things happen. We can see clearly. But one of the biggest things about retention is anyone who's been on it for, a week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, knows that as soon as you relapse within that time period, you have built up enough energy to understand the beauty that the journey has for you, but not enough to see where the path can lead you. And then you relapse and you throw it mostly down the drain. And if you relapse like 2 times in a row or 3 times in a row, well, then you're just back at square one. So today I want to talk about how do you get rid of lust, period, forever? Like, actually, what do I need to do to get rid of lust? What do I need to do to break out of these cycles of these same streaks over and over and over again? Okay. First things first, I know they always say identity shift, okay? Shift who you are. You are no longer this man. You imagine your life, right? In your life before retention or your life before NoFap. It was you with pornography, with lust in your life. The new you no longer has that, and that's the new path that you're having. So that's the identity shift. That's good and all, but when the dust settles, when we're not in that headspace anymore, when we're sitting alone in our rooms or weird thoughts pop into our heads, what do we do about that? It's not like it's part of us because, we're not trying to engage with it, but at the same time, we didn't conjure it up. Where'd it come from? It had to come from inside me, right? So that's where it gets a little confusing. But I think what we really need to understand is the identity shift is important. It's important to realize that you are now living a separate life, a new life, a better life, one that's without this stuff. But you need to start to realize that even though you're living a new life, you have to live it each and every day. People don't, live new lives and just let things, slip. They don't just make a decision and not each and every day carry out the actions in order to make that decision. And that's the part of doing the new identity. So even though the new identity thing is good, number one, I would say, is this is a lesson. This is not a rule or anything. This is a lesson. It all starts in the mind. It all starts in the mind. Every little ounce or little lustful experience starts deep within the mind. It starts with the thing we see. It starts with a thing we hear. It starts with the fantasy we engage in. It starts with the energy within our minds that we put towards wherever our minds are going. If we're putting energy towards that thing, then that's where we go. And lust is such an attractive thing that the slightest bit of energy can take a mile when you give it an inch. So what we really need to know is that, all this identity shifting, it doesn't come true when in each and every moment. In each and every moment, we need to do the work early. So let me break it down. It starts in the mind. As soon as you get even the slightest feeling of lust, or the thing that triggers you, you notice your triggers throughout this journey, you need to kill it there. Why? Because it takes the least amount of effort in that moment and goes away the quickest, right? So if you can do it really quick with as much effort as you possibly can, which is, like I said, going to be the least amount that you need, versus, if it trickles into, getting worse and you're touching yourself and all this and weird stuff. But it requires the least amount of effort and it goes away the quickest. So even though you're killing it early, right, the effort necessary, right, is the least. You're saving yourself you're saving yourself destruction in the long run, and overall it's going to go away very quick. Because if you've been on this journey, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you give it more energy, right, it's going to require more effort to get past, and it's going to come up consistently for several minutes, maybe even an hour after the occurrence of the thought or of the feeling, right? Now, obviously, you have some days where just things are harder, stuff is harder, it's not as easy to get this stuff done, and it's not as easy to remind yourself. But regardless, when you practice it over and over and over again, you're going to realize, okay, this is where I need to come in and do some energy shifting mentally, and it's going to get better and easier. So that's the biggest one. That right there is going to get you through 95% of the stuff. But then I wanted to kind of talk about what else happens. I guess we need to talk about how we get over lust. So that's the biggest one. Number 2, do not ever watch porn. If you relapse without porn, period. Porn is so beneath you at this point because you're not addicted to porn. You're addicted to the way you feel about porn, which is that you feel that intimacy is linked between you and porn. That's wrong. Women are not shown in that light in the real world. What you're experiencing is a fantasy in and of itself. It's a made-up world. If anything, what you're really doing is you're masturbating to a cartoon. Even though it may appear as real life on the screen, it doesn't exist in real life. And even though it could exist in real life, it's not fulfilling. So it's not truly what you're going to want the farther you go down the path. So, example, if the man that is addicted to pornography, right, or in masturbation, right, if what he wants is the illusion of the image on the screen to be in his life, the kind of woman that he's experiencing or seeing on the screen, the kind of intimacy that he's seeing on the screen, if that's what he wants, right, then is the same man of the new life without that stuff going to want the same thing? Now, that's going to be a question that you answer for yourself, but I'm going to argue really, really quick that that man is going to want a woman that is so beneath that. That stuff is disgusting in nature, okay? The nature of it is disgusting because, well, I don't want to get into that, but because the nature of that is disgusting, the new man is not going to want this disgust in his life. And so if we relapse, we must understand that our relapses, even in of themselves, need to be beautiful to the process. So if you relapse with the same pornography, right, or you relapse in the same setting as the old life does, you're not getting anywhere. What you need to be doing is full committing to the process. You know, if you've been on this journey for several months, right, and you relapse with pornography and masturbation, I mean, come on. Like, that's not even a notable relapse. It'd be one thing if you relapse, like, with a woman or with, um, you know, like like an accidental slip up from edging to nothing, or just something in your mind. You know, like, that's completely different. But you cannot, and I'm telling you, you cannot at all mess up to or relapse with pornography again. You need to understand that it doesn't exist. Okay? Seriously, like, it does not exist. Your mind is, because here's the distinction. Your mind is attracted to procreation. That's why you have an urge to be sexually attracted to women and to engage in masturbation. You don't have a natural inclination to engage in pornography. It's just an associative factor of what you've been taught through your addiction. So the sooner you can cut that off from ever existing in your life ever again, the sooner you're going to be able to experience women for what they truly are. Which brings me to my next point. The way to give over lust is to experience women for what they truly are. Those two things I discussed before, which is it all starts in the mind and we need to kill it early. That's a lesson. That's number one. That's the biggest one. That's going to get you through all of your urges. But then you need to start making the shift. Is that even the relapses, even the things that we fall short on need to be notably moving in the right direction of the man who is now trying to be the man of the new life. The identity shift is now in full form, full motion. And now you need to start realizing that the next step to closing this gap is realizing that women are not instruments of your pleasure, because that's what this lust is ultimately about. It's not about the fact that you have urges. I mean, yes, that is true, but what is really pushing you over the edge, right, are your triggers, number one, that we're dealing with, but number two, the way you're viewing these women, right? Because once you get on a long streak, women are not going to become very hard to be around, and they're not going to become inaccessible anymore. And so to maintain a long streak, you need to understand the value that a woman has. And when you do that, right, when you experience women for what they truly are and not in pursuit of something, right, then you have a profound respect for them, yourself, and now you know what you want in a woman. Because you have a respect for women, you know what makes a woman respectful. Same thing with dudes. Because you have a respect for certain kinds of guys, you know what makes a guy respectful, right? Because you can see what you respect and what is respectful for guys and for girls. So the more you experience that mentality, you go down a road of something that really does make sense, and that is how you should properly live in a world with women who, you know, are good and are bad, are good for you and are bad for you. Okay, and then I guess the last way to get rid of lust is just to pray. You know, prayer is like, I think it's the most important, just because I'm a very faith-built individual. That I think everyone's a very faith-built individual, but I think you need to sit in silence and really listen to what your heart and your mind are telling you. If they're telling you to do lustful things, you know what step of the process you're at. And so it's important to bring those things to light so that you can understand how to properly deal with them, if that makes sense, right? So if we can enter meditation for the sole purpose of just meditating, and if these lustful things come back to us, then we're able to deal with them and urge surf again and, practice killing them when they first, practice the killing the urges when they first enter our mind. In that, we build willpower, and I think also in that we build will, what we truly want for our lives. And so, yeah, that's probably the last one. Now I just want to talk a little bit about the intricacies of semen retention. If you do relapse on this journey, let's say you are more than 2 weeks in, if you relapse once, then your energy is going to stay constant. You're going to maintain a little bit, but if you relapse twice, like if you release once, then you're going to be better off on another streak, right, than if you relapse twice. If you relapse twice, then you're SOL. You're back to square one, as if you've never done the thing ever again. You're going to be tired, you're going to experience your energy dip, and you're not going to be able to hop back on the horse as easily. It's going to take, a week or two to rebuild again. If you're on 60 days, 2 months, and you relapse, then it's the same sort of thing, but far greater. I would say if you're on 60 days and you relapse, you go back down to like maybe 3-week level intensity of energy build. And, that's still associating, like, you don't have as much anxiety, you're still very focused mentally, but you have all these urges that come up. So it feels like you're on week 1 again, which you are. But, you just got to play it by ear. Okay. And then when you're in a high streak and you relapse and you want to recount your days, but you feel like you're on a higher day set, you got to realize this. You can be on a higher day set, but what you need to be ultimately judging your journey is not solely by the days, but more as the man that you are, right? I think the character that you display day to day shows more of a spiritual beauty and love to the world than anything that you can 100% do. So I want to say, so if you are consumed by lust, right, and you're constantly releasing, you're not going to be a duty or service to this world whatsoever. You're just going to be misconstrued. But that's probably because you of your character are flawed at a base level. So what I'm saying is, if you go down the path of retention, you're going to realize that you have more patience, you're more compassionate, you're more passionate in general. You are just a better individual, and you're acting according to your will much, much better. Could be due to a clear mind, it could be due to a spiritual sense, it could be due to the energy, it could be due to vibration, who knows, 100%. But that is the truth. And if you're on a long streak, like let's say you relapse at like day 100, I would say you're probably going to go back down to day 30 or below 30 level in intensity of energy. But at the same time, like only once. If you relapse only once, you only release once. If you release twice, you're screwed, like I said. But if you go back down from 100 once, one release, and you go back down, what you need to be judging your entire retention journey as a whole is, am I moving closer to being the man that we are setting our path on being? The goal of this journey is to build a habit that is so bound to your personality that you legitimately become a man who does the thing as it is. Who does the practice 100%, right? Now that doesn't mean that, you're on day 600, but it does mean that you do retention and you do it well. And when you do it well, it proves to be something important in your life, right? It proves to be something that makes things happen, which means, it's not always about getting to day this, day that, day this, day that. There's probably a lot of amazing benefits to going like 1 year, right? But at the same time, I don't think it's worthy to say that, you know, there's a major difference between day 100 and day 365. I just don't think that that's true. I mean, I would have to experience it, I guess, but which I have not. But I think once you get on long term, like past 60 days, or past even like 40, 50 days for myself, you don't change much. You just, if you can imagine this is you before retention. You're living in this, like, let's say this category of life. And this category of life is very low vibrational life. It's a life that does not attract much besides destruction and disgusting things, and basically puts you in this never-ending cycle of trying to get out of it and then realizing that you and of yourself are not prepared to go up into high vibrational and then going back down, right? So you're just constantly returning to your baseline, which is this categorically low vibrational life. Then when you're on retention, let's say you're in categorically baseline high vibrational life, and you may dip into low vibration, and you may even, stay in higher vibration, go up above. But, retention is like one of those things that just slowly builds it up, and then I feel like you plateau, and then from there you just get to live in this very high plateaued state. And you can go a little bit higher, but that's something that you learn how to do. That's something that you experience. That's something that you have to kind of create with your own will. And it's like lust is terrible and retaining is amazing, but retaining can only get you so far out of the hands of low vibrational energy, of evil, right? So even though there is a lot that you can do outside of retention, retention is the thing that builds the basis for how much we move up. And then we kind of need to, learn as this path goes on, and learn what should we actually be doing in this entire process. What should we be focusing on? What do people respect? Are people an important part of this journey? Are people everything to this journey? What inside of myself do I need to work on? And has come up time and time again that I know if I did work on it now, I'd get past it and it proved to be incredibly beneficial to my life. Like, those are the kinds of questions that you kind of hear in semen retention, and you want to deal with them. So you do, and it works out. And so I think basically what we're experiencing is not that, this does anything particularly amazing for us, but rather, how can we learn to live in a life that we truly love, right? It's honestly teaching me, how do I become a better man and stay a better man? And is being a better man something I really, really want? Because it challenges me as well. It's saying, if you want this really bad, you got to give up some stuff. You got to sacrifice. And I say to it, yeah, I'll sacrifice it. And so, it's hard, right? But it's also worth it. But it's also not so hard that, the outcome is not justifiably good, right? It's not like I'm putting so much energy into it and I'm not getting as much in return. It's like I'm not putting much energy into it, And it's not really giving me much in return in the moment, but it's giving me a world of return for the rest of my life. Right? It's giving me return, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, because it's teaching me. It's like the best return you can possibly get. It's teaching me wisdom, and it's teaching me how to live my life. And when I'm in the moments of retention, deep retention, long-term retention, it's telling me what I am and what I should be doing. And I think that that's most important. So I know that we got onto a kind of tangent. We want to talk about how do you defeat lust. But I think that's how you defeat lust. You kill it when it starts, and you stop engaging in everything. And you want to see linear progress or sublinear progress to full committing to this journey or to this new life. And what we must understand is that full committing is sacrifice. And so if you feel challenged to do something on this journey, give it a go. If you feel challenged to delete Instagram, delete Snapchat, delete social media, do it. If you feel challenged to work out, do it. If you feel challenged to do something that you know is good for your life, do it. And just give it a go. One of the things on semen retention that I, have just found is that sometimes I get the inclination to do something that I've never really got the inclination to do before. And it's an internal sort of telling. And I don't mind trying it just because my energy is so high. My bandwidth for starting something new, my bandwidth for trying stuff out is high. So I'm just like, we'll see if it works. See if it adds. And the more that you do that, the more that you have an open mind, the more that you love the process, experience the journey, and stay down it, a lot opens up. A lot does. So brothers, I say to you now, when we're combating lust in the battlefield, what are you going to do? I mean, the time is over for being absolutely swept by this stupid, and I mean that honestly, a stupid mindset that, we are victims to this prey. It's not. We are victims to this sort of clutch, this sort of hold. We're not. We've never been. We've just never exercised our willpower before. And when we do it, it's hard. But when we do it, it's worth it. And that's the biggest thing. This journey, even though it's hard, is worth it. And that is one of the weirdest things to me, is that, there's a lot of things in life that are hard that are not really that worth it. It's all about circumstantial evidence or circumstantial, things happening. It's all about kind of like taking a risk. This is not a risk. This is just blatantly obvious. You go on retention, you become a better man. Period. And it's gentle, it's real, it's honest, it's cumulative, and it makes sense after a while. Ultimately, brothers, what we need to be doing is realizing we need to stop being boys. Stop being a boy. Stop being a child. Wake up and realize that this is the path to manhood. Hey, take a shower, get some sleep. I will be. If you liked the video, subscribe, or just straight up like the video if you liked it. Try to make videos like this every week. But going to school is kind of hard, and I don't really have many thoughts flowing with this all the time. So, love you guys. I'm going to stay on my journey for you guys. I'm praying for my boys. I'll be praying for you guys, my brothers, and I pray that one day we can all see each other in heaven, living in harmony. Goodbye.